Hi everyone. Before we start, I need you to do something for me. Turn your volume up just a little. Not because this is going to be loud, because I need you to hear every word of what I'm about to tell you. There is a man sitting in a cell in Wisconsin right now, tonight, who murdered his pregnant wife and his 2 little girls. And every single month, without fail, a new video pops up on this platform promising you the shocking truth about his prison life. He's going insane. Guards are terrified of him. He's not the same man anymore. Funny thing, it's always shocking. It's never actually new. So tonight, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to tell you what's actually true, not what gets clicks, what's real. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand something about this man's mind that most people watching those other videos never will. But first, okay, small confession before we dive in. I have watched probably 40 of these prison update videos preparing for tonight. 40. Same stock photo of a prison hallway, same dramatic music, same 3 sentences stretched into 12 minutes. At some point, I turned to my dog, who was very unbothered by any of this, and I said, "We deserve better than this." She did not respond. Rude, honestly. Okay, let's get into it, because this one is heavy, and I want you sitting down for it. My name is Eleanor. Some of you already know me as Allie. If this is your first time here, welcome to True Crime Obsessions. And before I tell you anything about Chris Watts, I need to tell you why I'm the one telling you. I had a twin sister. Her name was Maggie. Margaret. We were the kind of twins where people couldn't tell us apart even after knowing us for years. Same laugh, same terrible taste in music. She used to finish my sentences and I used to hate it and secretly love it. When we were 24, Maggie left her night shift at a hospital and never came home. No struggle, no car found abandoned somewhere dramatic like in the movies. She just stopped existing in the world. One day she was texting me a stupid meme at 11 p.m. The next day, nothing. And it has been nothing ever since. I still don't know what happened to her. I have sat in cold case meetings. I have written letters to detectives who eventually stopped writing back. I know what it is to lose someone to a crime that never gets solved. I know the specific disorienting grief of being a twin and suddenly being half a person, walking around still answering to a name that used to mean one of two. That's why I don't do this for entertainment. I do this because I understand in my body what it costs a family when a life gets taken and the world moves on faster than the grief does. Shanann Watts' family knows that cost. Bella and Celeste's memory deserves better than clickbait. So does Maggie's. All right, deep breath. Let's talk about where Chris Watts actually is tonight and what his life actually looks like. No exaggeration required, because the truth is strange enough on its own. Chris Watts is serving 3 consecutive life sentences at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, not Colorado, which surprises a lot of people. Here's the first detail that should stop you in your tracks. Dodge Correctional used to be a state psychiatric hospital called the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. Sit with that for a second. The building itself has a history of housing minds the outside world couldn't hold, and Chris Watts isn't even the most infamous name to have walked those halls. Serial killer Ed Gein was housed there. Oh, and here's where it gets almost unbelievable. One of Chris Watts' neighbors at the facility is Stephen Avery, the man from Making a Murderer, serving life for the murder of Teresa Halbach. Across the street, 2 of the most talked about killers in modern true crime, separated by a road. Now here's your first cliffhanger, because I promise you what I'm about to tell you next explains something about this man's psychology that most people completely miss. Comment below right now, one word, faith, because that's exactly where this story goes next. Chris Watts claims he found God in prison, and on paper that sounds like redemption, right? That's the story he wants told. But here's what the letters actually show. According to reporting on letters obtained from a woman he was corresponding with, Watts wrote to her that he believed God had a plan for him, that God wanted him in prison, calling it his will, just like it was his will for Jesus to die for people. He told her he would never fully understand what Christ went through on the cross, but that his own suffering had given him a glimpse of it. Let that sink in for a second. A man who strangled his pregnant wife and smothered his 2 daughters is comparing his prison sentence to the crucifixion, not his crime, his punishment. He is casting himself as the martyr in his own story. That's not faith. That's the same manipulation that got Shannon to fall for him in the first place, just wearing a different costume. And here's the detail that genuinely disturbs me the most. This wasn't one letter to one woman in a moment of loneliness. Despite serving 3 consecutive life sentences, Watts has maintained relationships with several women while behind bars. Multiple women at the same time, from inside a maximum security prison. Oh, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about whether this man has actually changed, I don't know what will. To one woman, he reportedly wrote that in a different time, he believed they could have been together, but that God had other plans for his life. Notice what he's doing there. He's not saying, I can't be with you because I'm in prison for murdering my family. He's saying God is keeping us apart. He is rewriting the reason for his own isolation into something spiritual, something poetic, something that makes him the tragic figure instead of the perpetrator. This is the same charm that worked on Shannon, the same charm that worked on Nickel Kessinger while his pregnant wife was out of town. It didn't die in that interrogation room in 2018. It just found a new audience. Women writing to a stranger in prison who has no idea they are being told the exact same lines he once told the wife he killed. Okay, I need you to stay with me because we're about to go somewhere I haven't seen any other channel go. Before we do, if this kind of deep, honest breakdown is what you come here for, hit subscribe right now, not later, now, because I promise you the second half of this video is going to change how you see this entire case, and I don't want you to miss what's coming. All right. Okay, small palate cleanser before we go back into the dark. I have to tell you, while researching Dodge Correctional, I found out that visitors described the facility's architecture as almost Gothic. Old stone, tall windows, and I thought to myself, of course the state put the man obsessed with controlling every image of his perfect life into a building that looks like something out of a Bronte novel. There's a poetic cruelty to that I did not expect to find funny, but here we are. Okay, back to it. Let's talk about what actually happened in his own words, because I think a lot of you watching have heard the summary, he killed his wife and daughters, without ever sitting with what that discovery file actually revealed about the days leading up to it. While Shannon was in North Carolina for the final week of a family vacation, Chris began seeing a coworker named Nickel Kessinger, even vacationing with her while his family was away, telling her he was already separated and divorcing Shannon. Friends later said he seemed increasingly withdrawn during that trip, while Shannon continued documenting their life and her pregnancy on social media, unaware. She sent him a long, heartbroken text about his emotional distance, afraid he was unhappy about the pregnancy. He gave vague replies, avoiding any direct answer about the state of their marriage. Read between those lines with me for a second. While his wife was pouring her heart out over text, terrified her marriage was falling apart, he was building an entire second life 1,000 miles away. That is not a man who snapped. That is a man who had already, quietly decided his family was an obstacle. Shannon came home from a business trip around 2 a.m. on August 13th. It was the last time she was seen alive. Within days, Chris was arrested. He confessed. Shannon was strangled. Bella and Celeste were smothered. Their bodies were hidden in the oil field where he worked. He buried his pregnant wife in a shallow grave nearby. Oh, I still, after everything, cannot get past one detail every single time I revisit this case. Bella was 4 years old. 4! Old enough to know her father, old enough to trust him completely. That's the detail that never gets easier, no matter how many times I say it out loud. Okay, comment prompt for you, and I actually want to hear this from you, not just read it. Do you think Chris Watts genuinely believes his own faith story, or do you think, like me, it's just Nickel Kessinger 2.0, a new performance for a new audience? Type performance or genuine below. I read every single one. Now, before we get into the final stretch of tonight's story, the part I think is going to sit with you long after this video ends, I need to ask you for something. This channel only survives one way, not ads, not sponsorships. You. If you've made it this far, hit that like button right now. It genuinely tells this platform to put this story in front of more people who need to hear it. It costs you nothing, and it means everything to me. All right, let's finish this. Here's what almost nobody talks about, and it's the thing that keeps me up at night more than the murders themselves sometimes. Chris Watts is, by all accounts, model behavior inside that prison, compliant, polite to guards, the picture of a reformed man, and that terrifies me more than if he were violent. Because here's the thing about men like this. The charm was never the problem. The charm was the delivery system. Shanann didn't marry a monster who looked like a monster. She married a man who grew closer to her during a low, difficult point in her life, showing her support and patience, a man who made himself indispensable before he made himself invisible. That same skill set doesn't disappear behind bars. It just finds a smaller room to work in, a letter, a phone call, a woman on the outside who has no idea she's the next chapter in a very old pattern. That's the part these 40 shocking update videos I watched never say out loud. They want you scared of a man losing his mind. The real story is a man who never lost anything at all. His control, his charm, his ability to make someone feel chosen. He just lost his family, permanently, because of what he did to them. And here's where I have to bring it back to Maggie for a second, because I think about this a lot. My sister's case will probably never be solved. There will never be a confession, never a discovery file, never a moment where someone sits in a courtroom and says, here is exactly what happened and why. Chris Watts' victims got something my family never will, an answer, a guilty plea, a face and a name attached to their deaths. And it still isn't enough. It will never be enough. Because an answer doesn't bring Bella back. It doesn't bring Celeste back, or Shanann, or the baby boy they never got to meet, who Shanann's family named Nico. An answer is not the same thing as justice, and it is definitely not the same thing as them still being here. That's why I do this. Not for the shock value. For Bella, for Celeste, for Shanann, for Nico. Always. I'll see you in the next one.